Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's OpenONU Go call. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared live on YouTube. So please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share. It will be live. So, with that, I think we have a few items to discuss today. First of them is the current status of the software update procedure within the OpenONU Go adapter. Just to give people some background, there's been very good testing at Deutsche Telekom of this feature, thanks to Amit at Radisys and his team. And there's been some findings that we wanted to upstream both to master and the 2.7 branch. Within the 2.7, mostly a few fixes related to CRC computation, if I'm not mistaken. Michael, you can go into more detail with that later. On master, fixes about speed improvements and also optimizations of the code. So, Michael, why don't you run us through a couple of the things that you found out and what you plan to put into 2.7 and what you plan to put into master?
Well, yeah, thanks to Amit and Simon and their tests, and on the other side, we also made some tests in some Atran pod. We could verify that the CSC that we provided so far on the OMSI for the end of the software was not correct, and investigating that a little bit more detailed proved that it was simply that way, that the CRC byte sequence was reversed compared to what it should be. So that is quite a simple fix in the software that we have to do. The fix is currently provided in a 2.7 patch, as well as in a patch on the latest release 2.8 related version. So this change and this needed correction should be on a good way for both versions now. The 2.7 tests have in the Atran pod has shown some more issues. There where we were testing with the Atran ONU, the 401 Atran ONU. We have seen that based on the correction, the behavior of the ONU was different, but in the end, due to some other problem in the software that also was already existing for a long time, we ran into a crash there, probably because that ONU now reacts on the end software download in a specific manner, which might not be conformant to the OMSI specification, so that the OMSI lib has some issue decoding that frame. But yeah, we have not could not finally verify that, because it's a little bit tricky to get down to the real OMSI frame in this test. So there we have not yet reached the point where the software upgrade was really finished in that way that the ONU accepted it. While in the Deutsche Telekom pod in the Winterfeldstraße, it was accepted. But there we have still seen the issue that the commitment that we should do after the ONU comes up again is not yet done, or at least it seems to be that way. So I asked Salman to do some further tests, perhaps using debug level, so that we can better find out why this commitment has not yet wasn't done. So that's the outstanding investigation that we still have to do.
Okay. One question on my side is Amit was suggesting some improvements around the speed as well. One of them being a call to the core, which is not really useful at this point. Do you think that is worth moving into 2.7 as well as part of your fix for the CRC, or do you think we should abstain ourselves from putting performance improvements within the 2.7 adapter and just aiming for the 2.8?
We have tried in a different test to see if there's already some improvement with the discussed internal code modifications. So we have done two things. One is to remove some, let's say, redundant code or code that is not really needed in this at this processing, and the other was to modify the usage of the internal protection semaphores. But the test proved that it is not working on first hand. So we see that the start of the software download just immediately runs into some problem. I'm still not sure why the problem is not really related to the direct changes, but it might well be that the ONU is behaving and reacting a bit differently on the flooding of OMSI frames now. So we have to try to figure out what is really happening. So one approach could be to do only one of the changes that should be really not that, should not have that much influence, the removal of the code, that unused code, that might already bring some performance advantage. For the other issue or for the other test, I think it might require more time to really verify if this is working, and perhaps something else still has to be done for that. So that might take a little bit longer. So yeah, my suggestion would be perhaps still to test with the code removal and see if that really helps in the 2.7 release to decrease the download time. And if that is working in a further test, then we could still consider to include that into the 2.7 release. But yeah, if the test should take too long and we should fall into other problems with that, then in my point of view, we have to skip the release 2.7 changes to only do the necessary CRC change here and to deal with the optimization in release 2.8 or whatever version.
Okay. I also assume that the Kafka implementation and improvement that we were talking about not waiting for the message reply before sending another one. That is also something that we would look also for 2.8, right?
Yeah, that was already, I tried to avoid that waiting with the change of the mutex handling. So that change should already provide a situation where this waiting for the response is not anymore done.
You mean this one?
Yeah, but
not this one. This is just the CRC one.
Yeah, this is just the CRC one.
Okay.
No, I didn't provide that in a patch. I provide that only in Slack and some discussion and with a GitHub load. And that was failing in the test. So yeah, that needs further investigation.
Okay.
And then for that, not waiting on the Kafka reply, is that mainly just for downloads or is this for OMCI in general?
This would be for OMCI in general. This
Okay.
is a change in the basic OMCI communication channel module, which is responsible for handling all the OMCI frames.
Yeah. Will you also go over for messages that do have replies? You need to properly support the send and wait protocol. Otherwise, you might find overruns on some ONUs. So right now, the way I think the OMCI transmitter is done in the OpenONU adapter is basically to place something in the queue, and basically as you get the reply from Kafka that it was sent, it would dequeue the next message, and that's not a truly conformant way to do OMCI. You need to, if you send a message that requires a reply, you actually need to wait for the OMCI reply to come back in for that message or a timeout. Because I think there's at least I think the CIG microplug ONU and a few others might actually overrun if you send messages without following the stop and wait protocol.
Yeah, so might be that is also worth some consideration. But I'm not really aware of the corresponding OMSI standard page or description that describes this.
Yeah, just search the 988 for stop and wait.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that you'll find it there. So there's actually a couple things. If you properly implement the stop and wait protocol, then when we actually use the Kafka request, you can request that you send a Kafka request and you don't need the reply from Kafka, but the stop and wait needs the reply from OMCI.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple optimizations that would implementing stop and wait correctly would allow you to reduce a little bit of Kafka reply traffic. And then when you do downloads that don't need a reply, until you get to the end of the section, that you could actually send those more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that would mean that that is not our current approach. So then we would have to modify the handling that we allow the flooding of messages only for these messages that don't await some response, like the download section messages. That would be a little bit more effort. So
okay.
This
but it's gonna be dangerous.
Argument.
Yeah, you run into a lot of danger for interoperability if you don't properly do the stop and wait protocol at the OMCI level. So
yeah, hi, this is Amit. So yeah, I was playing around trying to implement the same, that only for the download sections which don't need an ACK, right? So except for the last section of the window, all the other sections, only for those OMCI messages, I was trying to send them without waiting the ACK from the other end on the Kafka bus. But I think we're still getting some problems. I'm seeing some processing error being reported by the ONU. So yeah, I have to look deeper into it as to what is happening.
Okay. So I think the next steps for this one is to continue the investigation around master and improvements over there. We need to at least merge this one on 2.7, and then after the testing is properly done, we can decide what to include next, possibly this one. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that at least for me, I think that sounds fine.
Okay.
Michael,
So-
what do you think about this preliminary prevention of the crash up in the defective OMSI message? Should it also be back merged to 2.7, or is it only because it's only restricted to the one of the Atran ONUs, we do not need it?
My take is we could probably avoid it. Also because that would require a move to a newer version of OMCI libgo, which would entail a few changes in 2.7, which are more than I feel comfortable with. But that's maybe me. And given that also this is something that is to handle a scenario where the ONU is maybe not fully OMCI compliant, I think we can skip it, obviously include it in 2.8.
Okay.
So another aspect that we're trying to look into, might not be a priority right now, is the amount of CPU or resources being used up trying to upgrade a particular ONU. Right? Because ultimately it has to make sense, right, in production, as to if you have to upgrade n number of ONUs, which would be into hundreds and thousands finally, right? Then if the amount of resources needed for that is too high, then we have to maybe ask the questions, right? Is this a practical solution? Because right now, at least the way things stand as of today, what we saw is that when the upgrade is ongoing, the ONU adapter is taking around, I think, 300 to 400 milli CPU. And that is only for one ONU, and that takes about, say, 75 minutes, right? So if we were to extrapolate things with those numbers, I think we might not be in a great position. So I think this is something which we need to keep and watch out for and see if something can be done to bring these things down.
So, Amit, a couple of things on this one. I think that while having a general number is good, I'd like to understand a little bit more what exact threads, uh, like why is it taking so high of the CPU? Like it needs profiling. So we
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
a profiling image for the OpenONU Go adapter that you could probably build and use
Yep.
to understand this. And it might be that we find out some culprit in the code that could be fixed fairly easily, maybe, hopefully. But the first step is to profile the adapter during such processes so that we can understand what's going on.
Yes, definitely. We will get to that at some point. But right now, the focus, at least we are trying to keep the focus as to trying to reduce the download time, not really taking care of the amount of CPU that goes into doing that.
Okay, yep, sounds good.
Yeah, Andrea, sorry, I was mute. I had some comment on the other question you had for possible merging the change for the OMSI protection, as message protection that we have seen in the Atran test. I think that change is not really related to some OMSI lib version. So it's, in my point of view, quite independent. And it's quite a local change, quite, it's not that big, that change. And so my recommendation would more be to include that in 2.7 as well.
Okay, maybe let's see the change and then we can think about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, we should first wait for for the test results of all the checks and see if that has some influence or not. And yeah, then in my point of view, we can consider to include that.
Actually, the test is done, or what it is, as you have seen, it's only the check on nil pointer when trying to decode the OPSI message by means of the OMSI go. And okay, I would say we could backport. That should be no risk.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on this topic?
Well, perhaps coming back, I don't know if you wanted to go over to that. If there are no other comments for the general.
Maybe if I might interfere a little bit on the very far end of the chain. You mentioned in the discussion that it's taking 30 or 40% of the CPU for transferring the OMCI download of the ONU firmware. We have done the calculation already a good year ago that we are talking about 300,000 to 400,000 or 500,000 packets for a single ONU. My simple question is, what is the overhead for transferring those millions of OMCI messages via Kafka? You well mentioned, Amit mentioned that if you multiply this 500,000 packet with 10,000 ONUs, that gets quite a large number. So what is the overhead of transferring those simple, effectively 31 byte payload of binary download via Kafka?
So Paul, when you say overhead in comparison to what?
Well, in a standard, ordinary, classical OLT, there's a small microcontroller with a couple megabytes of RAM on each on each line card, which more or less directly talks to the Mac chip and has no such overhead as a Kafka bus in between. And these boxes usually get well 5 to 10 minutes or something for one ONU, and you can ask it to do well on 8 ports 30 ONUs at the same time. So say 200 ONUs at the same time. It will not really take much longer than half an hour for those 200 ONUs. So multiply that by each line card. There will be no increase. So half an hour for some thousand ONUs. So there is some relation between the overhead of a Kafka message bus in between and CPU usage for the OMCI handling in a high efficiency Go code. I don't see a Go code being capable to waste so much time with so little packets.
It depends, Paul. It can be threads that do. If you spin up very many threads, that could be. It could be waiting on the Kafka bus. Not sure. Again, as I said, we need profiling. There is really no way we can understand this without having a deeper knowledge of what's going on in the system whenever this happens. It might be Kafka, it might be the Go adapter. At this point in time, that to me, it's a number that has no sense. I cannot justify it. Where does it start? I don't know. Where does it? We need deeper understanding of the code to be capable of saying it's this, it's that. And without that, I don't think it's even worth debating it, really, just because it's just a number. And it might, again, there are hundreds of possibilities of where the system could clog up or use a lot of resources. Kafka may be one of them. We'll see. That's my point.
No contradiction.
So as soon as Amit has some of these tests done, we can go and take a look at that. And also, this could be done in parallel with the avoid waiting for the Kafka reply. And we could also see if with that change, this number goes lower, we already have a data point. But again, further testing needed. Okay. Anything else on this before we move forward?
If you want to go to the PM section, then just a remark on the 2.8 progress. We have supplied a patch that should at least be capable of downloading and committing, activating, committing the image based on the 2.7 new defined RPCs or APIs. The patch is not yet merged, so this is still outstanding. There are anyway, there are missing some further extensions that are needed in the adapter. As I said, I will be on holiday for some days, and I hope that Holger can continue with that. And yeah, but I wanted just to do the remark that there are still some things to be done together with the testing that might be quite time critical to reach the target of having some code trees in mid of June.
Okay. Yep. But, yeah.
One information, I contacted Salman yesterday because I tried to provoke the RPCs, some of the RPCs which are not implemented yet from the RV core, and there are some issues, but he already it's at the point, and if he's not so heavily involved here in testing issues, I hope he will have a look, will have the chance to have a look at it. For example, it was this get ONU images, you know, that we can get the ONU information via world control command device ONU image. That would be the first story I would have on my list when Michael is away. I don't know how important you think it is. Do we need it for the release very urgently? That you can, but I think we need it, no? Because you have to have the control, have to have the possibility to display the status of the ONU images via Vault control command, right? This should be included.
Yeah, the update that went into the core and the protos are because we need this stuff for 2.8. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I will start with it.
I did not understand what the issue with the core implementation was. I think that
was some issue with parameters. It was a wrong parameter supply. It looks like so.
Oh.
Someone want to have a look at it.
Okay, Amit, do you know anything about this?
No, I will check with someone.
Okay, maybe Holger, whenever you reach out to these folks via email, maybe just try and put us both, just me and Amit in CC. Maybe we do nothing with the email, we don't interact, but at least we get the ball moving if things seems to be stopped.
Or should we open a new Slack group, including Salmon?
We could take a look at that. Yeah, let me do that.
Holger, I created a new group where you are already
but not is everybody in? Also Andrea
yes,
and
yes.
For the moment, is it?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about offline. I don't see it yet. Here it is. Okay. Okay, and we continue discussion there. I see.
Okay.
But was created today, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go to the PM config. So Girish is not here today, but there's been improvements in the protos for the fetch ONU stats on demand. This is the OLT side of things, but I've asked Himani also to work on the ONU side in the same patch. So we have one proto change that includes both the requests for the OLT side and the ONU side of these PMs. In relationship to these, I've actually reached out to folks at Deutsche Telekom and Netzia, but I have not heard back. Maybe Paul, you can go in your email and check if you can give some comments on these. Okay. And 4029 is actually the task for this one that I just talked about. So there's not really a lot of update except that yeah, we're working on the protos for this one, and the implementation will follow. And this one, I'm still waiting on a reply for this from the Deutsche Telekom and Netzia folks. So no progress on there. On the testing side, I know Torsten is on PTO. You guys have any update from him?
No, I
No,
think
there was nothing.
Okay, it's fine. We can keep it there. In the meantime, the tests are running mostly fine. There's one or two issues here and there, but we will we're working on them with ONF around OLT soft reboot and things like that. But I don't think it's some major issue.
Andrea,
Yes. Hey.
for PON transceiver receive power PM, Orhan upstream the patch, I think,
Yes.
for OLT agent. And I also opened the task for retrieving these counters on demand with getText value. It will be implemented by Orhan or Burak again.
Yes, I need to get that patch actually. It's actually merged already. This one. So it will be in the next build of the OpenONT we do, which is really good. Thanks for that. Okay. Any other, before I didn't stop before, any other question on the PMs while we're here?
Yeah, I had one question on some of the transmit and receive, like the packet counters will probably need get current counter command support. And while working on the extended message set for get current data, I think there might be a bug in the baseline implementation as well. I just found that this morning, and I need to check, write up some unit tests. But I already sent some a Slack message to Girish about it, that get current data baseline might have a bug in it.
Okay.
I just want to let people know ahead of time before they have trouble, they see a bad, it fails decode or serialization.
Okay.
And I'll follow the bug and update any associated JIRAs that might be dependent on it. Just so it should be a very simple fix if it is a bug.
Okay, thanks. Let us know. We can merge the patch and update the OMCI libgo version in the adapter as soon as you have more information about this.
Sure.
Okay. I don't see Odzge on the call. Maybe Mahir, you have information about the status of the traffic descriptor, I mean?
Yeah, she's on PTO, so I can say that it's on test. So it's guys testing it still.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Okay. Okay. On the extended OMCI frame support chip, it's the status of this one.
Yeah, and we've got all the message types that were promised for 2.7 have been implemented and merged. And I'm actually working on all the other simple ones, the create, set, get current data, lib reset. So I'm actually working on those in case they're needed in 2.7.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Chip. Okay. Holger, the hardening of the OMCI communication, is this merged?
Actually, the hardening, yes. Sure, it is was merged 10 days ago or so. Yeah, you're talking about the race data race patch.
Yeah, no, so no, hold on. There's two of them. So one is this, which is done, right? Perfect. The data race condition is the one that is now open, which is this one. But I think we could go ahead and merge this because it has passed hardware tests and functional tests here, and also the multi-OLT tests here. So
Yeah.
I think we can just go ahead and merge.
I also think so, because the danger was that because of the extended use of mutexes, there's some deadlock or something like this introduced with this patch, but it seems to be not. So I would say testing showed that we can merge it.
Okay, I've just done that. Perfect. Great. Merged. Okay, and the other one you have open is one related the hardware test crash.
But it's the one we already talked about. Actually, that whether it should also be included in 2.7.
Oh, is it this one? Ah, I see. Okay, sorry, I didn't make the connection. So this one is actually here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, then if you don't mind rebasing it, it seems a fairly straightforward patch. I think this can be backported, given that it's fairly straightforward. I thought that another patch was needed for this. Sorry, I didn't make the connection. I think it can.
I had to went there, but okay, no.
I'm fine with backporting it into 2.7. Maybe the full solution that Michael is talking about here, maybe that we avoid in 2.7, but this one we can use it. We can put it in 2.7.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind rebasing this, when we merge it, we can cherry pick to 2.7 and release the adapter. Maybe after we merge also Michael's fix for the CRC.
Okay.
Perfect. So we talked about this. Actually, this. We talked about it extensively. on the multi-OLT environment, to be honest, I've not seen this anymore. Have you guys?
That's something you're observing only on hardware, or is that on BBC? Because I've seen some failures happening in BBC on the multi-OLTs, but I haven't spent too much time debugging those.
No, we see that in the jobs over there. With the multi-OLT, OpenONU Go jobs, not on hardware.
Okay, so those are the same in which I'm seeing it.
Yes. Okay. I don't have anything on this one. Unless Michael or Holger have anything, we just leave it there and discuss it whenever the reconciling patch are merged. Actually, this one for the OpenONU Adapter Go looks very good. The Volta Core one looks good as well. There's an OpenOLT one that needs a review, and then we should be good to go on merging those three as well.
So we have to consider that they're still ongoing to have a solution when the reconciling fails, right? It is not the fully solution then. So, but I think Maninda is getting track of it. I hope so. It was the idea to introduce an upper state reconciling failed, which should provoke the RW core to reset, to try to reset the ONU. The current idea is if the reconciling fails, then to reset the upper state from reconciling to unknown, which could not be the final solution. Andrea, do you know the status of this discussion, or have you been involved somewhere?
I've been keeping track of it. I need to go back and talk to Maninder about this. I'm not sure who's gonna take care of it. That's something I need to figure out. So not yet. I'll bring it up at TST next week, and I'll make sure that by then to have talked to Maninder about the handling of this.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay. Then last topic for today was the multi-uni support. I don't have any update here. If anybody has any update, I'd be more than happy to.
Yes, Andre. I upstreamed 2 patches. They are work in progress patches because I'm still testing them. So the first one is about allocation of the T-counts, and the second one is the change about the entity IDs. We still have 1 or 2 patches. The one about the general enabling disabling of the ONU and enabling of the all uniports, and the second one is about the multi-case gem ports allocation for multi-UNI case. So as I said, the patches are work in progress because we're testing them. I upstreamed them because Holger asked me to upstream them as if they are in draft status. So this is the state. in multi-UNI side. And also, I think we have a limitation in multi-UNI as platform for uni counts supported in Volta. During the logical port creation, we use 4 bits for uni ID. So it means that we can support up to 16 UNIs on an ONU. But this is not about multi-UNI code changes, but it's already there, a problem about the platform, the Volta platform.
Okay. Just as a quick question on my side, how high do you expect the number of unis per ONU?
The number of units we are expected is, 16, yes, currently. But I think the spec supports up to 256.
So the fix here would require us to move to
make changes on ONU adapter and on OLT adapter, perhaps. There is a platform Go file in OLT adapter and also ONU adapter. They have some same codes there, which generates UNI ID, port IDs, POM port IDs, NNI port IDs, etc. Logics there using maximum 4 bit for UNI. So this is a common problem, but I'm not sure where it's used, in which modules it's used. So a search should be done.
Okay. Maybe given that right now you expect 16, let's live with this for now, have the feature implemented, and then on top of that, we can work on.
Yeah. I agree. After feature is implemented, we can work on that.
Okay, right, perfect. Okay, anything else on the?
So I saw some OLTs with more than 32 PON ports. What are we doing in that case?
No, this is not POM port. This is the UNI port on an ONU.
The RG side, the tail.
Yeah, no, I understood, but Mayer said that the same code is used to generate the PON port ID as well. That is still 4 bits.
No. In the platform Go class, there are some codes which are generating POM port IDs, NNI IDs, UNI IDs, okay? So the problem is in the UNI ID generation code part, and this is used by ONU adapter, I know, but I don't know where it is used and where else it is used. And if we change the UNI ID generation logic and increase the number of allocated bits for UNI, then we may need to make shifts from the other bits to, in generation of PON ports and NNI ports, okay? This doesn't mean that we have limits there, small limits, I don't know, but we may need to change the logic of generation, okay? Because the logical port IDs are, as far as I recall, with 20 bits, okay, limited to 20 bits. And the last 4 bits are for UNI ID. So if we increase the bits of UNI, then we may go up to 24 bits. Okay. I don't know if this fits in the protocol, OF protocol or not. But we should change the logic. I mean, currently it supports up to, I don't remember, but hundreds of PON interfaces currently. It probably been a bit complex I don't know.
Yeah, no, I got your point. Thanks.
Yeah. Check the platform Go file in the OLT adapter and ONU adapter. So it's clear there, I think, because there are comments also there. So there are also constants about max UNI counts on an ONU, max ONU counts on a pawn, and max pawn counts on an OLT. You can see the definitions here and the generation of the logical ports IDs. So currently there is no limit. We don't have small numbers for pawn interface and analysis, I can say that. But for UNIs, we have limits.
Okay. And as I said, I think we can go ahead and implement the feature and then work on this one with the proper investigation on what is supported or not.
Yeah. So, it's basically, it's not an internal thing in Volta. Is when we are generating the OpenFlow port number. That's the issue. It's not the port number within Volta. It's the one that is reported upstream.
I couldn't get that. I mean, it's about port generation in Volta for OF. It is about it. I mean, what I couldn't get your point.
That it's not the port ID in Volta. Is the OpenFlow port ID that we report once that has that limitation of the 4 bits.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saved this one, and let's. I can look into it a little bit and see if it's per OF spec or something else we do.
Yeah, look, I was looking now into the code, and we are using 8 bits for the pawn ID, so we can have theoretically 256 pawns. I'm not sure if that will ever be the case.
Yes. So the case is if you check the UNI ID generation, max UNI bits for uni ID generation, uni port ID generation, then you will see that it's 4 bits. Okay, we have problem there. It's not about pawn,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the OpenFlow format, and we have 8 bits for the pawn, 8 bits for the news, and 4 bits for the uni.
Yes.
We can probably shift things a little bit.
Yeah.
Make space for more uni.
Yeah. If Andre, you can check the, OF protocol for the limits of this ID, the port ID, then we can decide to shift it, as Matteo said. I mean, four more bits, add 4 more bits to UNI, and so shift 4 more bits to the left. So get a bigger number for logical port numbers, if it fits into the OF.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look. Okay. Okay, given that we are at the top of the hour almost, I'd like to open the floor to see if there is anything else that you guys wanted to discuss before.
Just quick update on the multi-uni. I started working on the BBSIM piece of it. I split it in small JIRAs, so it shouldn't be a huge patch coming in. And hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have the first part of it in which I'm changing the OMCI
module in BBSIM so that it's more dynamic and can accommodate for multiple units.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Theo. If you have any questions or comments, I think you can ask them to Chip with the other folks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I won't hesitate.
Indeed. Okay. Anything else anybody has for today?
Yeah, if we finished, I have a question.
Yep.
This question is about the update flows incremental function. I mean, this message sent from RV core to RW core to ONU adapter. So is there a fail or success response for this message from ONU adapter to RW core? I mean, if a flow is pushed to the ONU adapter and if somehow it fails, say that OMSI messaging is failed, then do we send a failure response to RW core or not?
I don't recall top of my head. I think we do, but maybe Michael or Holger know better, given that they implemented the method.
Well, at least the interface is, provides the means to respond with some error. I do not remember if that is done in any case because the flow processing might be done in background. So it is not waited until all the processing is done that the answer is given, but there is some preliminary check on the flows. And if some problem is detected there, then I think we also respond with some error code. Okay. But I think the complete processing for the flows is done in background, and so no, it is not waited for the processing to end. But I'm not quite 100% sure for this. I would have to recheck that.
Okay, I'm asking this because I mean on RW core side, with the transaction error handling change done by Ken, I think they're waiting from RV core side. They're waiting the answer of the update flows incremental, and if it's a failure, then they report a failure to the OF agent and the ONOS that the flow is not, I mean, successfully injected to the devices. So this is somehow important because I mean reporting the error to the upper layers to ONOS, etc. We can reprovision the service, or I mean know that the service provisioning is failed, and it's also important to say fulfill the requirements and the implementation that done in the RW core. So if this is not a say acceptable approach to wait the response of the flows from ONU adapter, or it may be a better way to respond asynchronously, I mean, on Kafka bus, then we should talk on that also and check for that also.
Okay. Maybe let's put some cycles on looking at what is done, and then we can discuss it next week. Would that work, Mahir?
Yeah.
Michael, do you mind if I ask you to check?
Yes, I can check. I have to do it in the next 2 days. I won't be there next week. But anyway, I think a change in this respect would have to be done quite carefully. So I don't think it's anything that we should consider for release 2.8.
I agree on that. But let's, if you don't mind doing some analysis and send it to me, I can then report it next week, or send it to Holger and he can report it. Okay.
Okay.
Michael, a question. If we do it in a synchronous way, say if we wait until the end of the flow insertion and send the response back to RW core as it as expected, is it also an issue after 2.8 or not?
Yes, it might be a general issue. The problem is, of course, that if some processing error appears in the flow configuration, really in the OMSI configuration, then the problem might be that RW core is not informed about the problem. But changing that is not that simple in my point of view. There are many, we have seen many issues in the time sequence of this processing in the past. So a change to that might be quite sophisticated and needs quite careful testing in my point of view. So yes, I think improvements could be done. I would always prefer a way to do it asynchronously and let the RW core know that something went wrong autonomously. But if that is a bit more problematic, then yeah, we can also consider to go to the synchronous way, as we, I think, also do for the tech profile processing. But as stated, there are some timing issues on that interface that need to be carefully handled. That's why I stated I wouldn't like to do that in 2.8. But yeah, afterwards, of course, we can consider some improvements here.
Okay, see.
Okay, I see. Let's take it offline. Michael, you can check, give back to me or Holger, and then we can discuss it next week. And but yeah, I do agree. I think this is a big change for 2.8. We already have our plate fairly full, so let's see. But let's see where we stand with the analysis, and then decide from there. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.